Hey, YouTube family. How's everybody doing? Uh, Today I'm going to continue on my series of Puerto Ricans during the Korean War. The last one I did was Puerto Ricans during World War II. Before I move any further, please like and subscribe. I'll be greatly appreciated. Now, talking about Puerto Ricans in the Korean War, this is basically going to be a two-part series. It might even be three. The reason for that because I decided not to talk about the 65th Infantry, the Borinqueneers, on this particular video. I'm going to leave that into the next one. So this is more generic Puerto Rican participation during the Korean War, and not really talking about the Borinqueneers into my next video. Now, thousands were drafted and or enlisted in either the Army, Marine Corps, Navy, or the Air Force. They were integrated into regular U.S. units and served in combat roles. They also served in logistics, medical support, intelligence, and communication. Puerto Rican soldiers were attached to integrated infantry and artillery units also. They fought in major battles, for example, Port Chop Hill, Heartbreak Ridge, and the Chosen Reservoir. Puerto Rican women also served. They joined the WAC, which is called the Women Army Corps, and they were also a part of MASH, which was the Mobile Army Surgical Hospitals. I don't know if you remember that TV show. I believe it was in the 70s or 80s. There was even a movie called MASH. And you know that unit exists. I remember when I was stationed in Korea, I went to this medical facility for a reason, and I was shocked to see the 4077 MASH. They're still in Korea, by the way, and they actually existed. I thought it was a made-up unit they made up only for the movie. Like I said, some of these women served in Japan and South Korea, supporting logistically and medically. Now, as far as Air Force contributions, Puerto Ricans also did aircraft maintenance. They participated in aerial recon and combat support missions. As far as the Navy and the Marine Corps are concerned, Puerto Rican sailors and Marines took part in naval bombardments, amphibious landings, and aircraft carrier operations. Puerto Rican Marines fought in harsh ground combat, often in joint missions with Army units. That was basically just a summary of Puerto Rican participation in Korea. Now what I want to do is highlight some of the guys that excelled, in other words, that were highly decorated for their actions in the Korean War. Numerous Puerto Ricans were awarded Bronze Stars, Silver Stars, Purple Hearts, and commendations for heroism and service. These individuals often went unrecognized publicly due to the overshadowing fame of the 65th Infantry Regiment, yet their sacrifices were vital. I'm going to repeat that again. It's very interesting. These individuals often went unrecognized publicly due to the overshadowing fame of the 65th Infantry. In other words, the 65th, the Borinqueneers, became so famous in Puerto Rican, as far as people from Puerto Rico knowing about them, that when other service members distinguished themselves, sometimes they were overshadowed. They weren't really recognized because of the actions of the Borinqueneers. Everybody was concentrating on learning what the Borinqueneers were doing and following their battles as they fought the North Koreans and the Chinese. But Puerto Ricans did support the war effort through war bonds, and they also participated in blood drives. After the war, like many other soldiers and Marines, many returned with physical and emotional scars, lack of recognition, and limited veteran services. And this still stands today. Um, in Puerto Rico, the VA benefits are not as good as the VA benefits in the mainland. And sometimes Puerto Rican veterans feel like they're second class citizens. They serve with their fellow soldiers from the mainland, but when it comes to services, they're not receiving the same benefits as the VA, the veterans in the VA in the Commonwealth. Of course, because of this growing civil rights discourse, status of Puerto Ricans, U.S. citizens, and treatment post service. In other words, this has caused a, I'm trying to find the right words besides discourse. In other words, Puerto Ricans felt, like I said, like second class citizens. And even though they're proud of their service, they felt that they weren't really recognized. And, and it reflected on whether they believed that Puerto Ricans should be citizens, or some Puerto Ricans felt that they should have maybe be independent nation. Some felt that they should stay as a Commonwealth, and that still holds for as far as today. That's still the ongoing issue as far as the Puerto Ricans, how they feel with their relationship with the United States. Some want to maintain the Commonwealth, some want to become a state, and some want Puerto Rico to be independent. Now I'm going to talk about, like I said, some Puerto Ricans that distinguished themselves during the war. Fernando Luis Garcia from the U.S. Marine Corps, he was from Utuado, Puerto Rico, was posthumously awarded in 1952 the Medal of Honor. First Puerto Rican to receive the Medal of Honor. He threw himself on a grenade and saved some fellow Marines. The next one is Miguel Avera, U.S. Army 38th Infantry Regiment from Puerto Rico, posthumously also awarded the Medal of Honor, but was awarded in 2014. He wasn't awarded the medal after the war, and he was awarded by President Obama. Now, Miguel Avera, being wounded, continuously fighting during the Battle of Chorwan, 1952, providing cover to his unit until he was mortally wounded. The third one I'll talk about is Demencio Rivera, U.S. Army from Cabo Rojo, Puerto Rico, demonstrated exceptional bravery during combat. This action happened in Chongyani, May 22nd to the 23rd in 1951. He was a member of Company G, 2nd Battalion, 7th Infantry Regiment, 3rd Infantry Division, which is the same division that the Borinqueneers belong to. Rivera's unit came under intense enemy fire from a well-entrenched force during a nighttime attack. Despite heavy fire, he remained at his forward position, defending against the onrushing enemy. His automatic weapon was destroyed, but he didn't retreat. He used his pistol and continued to fire at the enemy, holding his position. Ran out of ammo, began throwing hand grenades, inflicting heavy casualties to the enemy. His one-man stand allowed his unit to recognize and mount a counterattack. He was originally awarded the Distinguished Service Cross, but in 1951, but President Obama upgraded it to a Medal of Honor in 2014. Now, I'm going to mention briefly two other guys, but I'm going to talk more about them when I talk about the 65th, because these two members were members of the 65th Infantry Regiment. Modesto Cartagena, nicknamed the One-Man Army, and it reminds me of the World War II veteran, Sergeant First Class Agustin Ramos Calero, who was also called the One-Man Army. Modesto Cartagena was one of the most highly decorated Korean veterans of that war. And another one is Juan Negron, a Medal of Honor recipient. And but I'll go more in detail on their actions when I talk about the Borinqueneers. So that's my summary of Puerto Ricans in the Korean War. I hope you enjoyed my brief summary, and may you like and subscribe on this channel so it could grow. This channel is mainly dedicated for military subjects. So thank you for your time, and take care, and God bless.